So they'll all be together physically?
They'll all be physically together. They're just on their way here.
Okay.
And they should be able to see this nice big screen. Yeah, we're into full screen. Fantastic.
So this is in a classroom in Cambridge? Or?
Yes, this is it. It's in a classroom in Cambridge, right. There you go. Adarsh, Malachi, and Nikita are joining you, Robin. They can see your screen, but of course you can't see that.
Yeah, I met Nikita briefly last week, but I don't think I've met the other two. Can they hear me now?
Yep, we can.
Okay, fantastic. So, yeah, so please tell me a bit about yourselves and your background in economics, and then we'll get started.
Okay, well, I've only done economics at GCSE level, not at A level. And
okay, so you've just started your A level now.
Yes.
But you took, and sorry, what's your name? Sorry.
Adarsh.
Adarsh. Okay, fantastic. Nice to meet you. And yeah, so Nikita I've met, and then the third student is
Malachi.
Malik. Okay, tell me about yourself.
Yeah, I took 4 months in doing GCSE economics, but I'm still kind of new to everything, to A-level economics.
Okay, fantastic. And so you've all done this June 2015 paper?
More or less, I attempted it. Yeah, we attempted it.
Okay, awesome. I guess it must have been quite tricky if this is your first cycle, and especially with the times you've got limited experience. How did you find it, Nikita?
I still have a few questions.
Okay.
Yeah, but mostly because it's not that hard.
Yeah, there's not. It's I'd say it's easier than those essay questions we went through last week.
Yeah.
And the thing about these multiple choice questions is, if you know your stuff, you can get full marks. Whereas even if you know your stuff, you're unlikely to get full marks from those essay questions. So that's why these are like really, really good if you want to be getting like top grades. So yeah, briefly about me, I'm a student at the University of Oxford studying economics and management. I've been tutoring for about 2-3 years now. And yeah, let's do you have any questions before we get started, or are you guys ready? You can see what's on my screen, right?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Let's get going. Cool. So basically, we'll go through a question, and then I guess just one by one we'll say what the answer is. We'll try to explain it. We'll try to figure out why it's that, why it's not the other answers. If somebody's confused, if we find something interesting, we want to look into deeper, we'll stop and do that. But because basically these sessions are modeled on Oxford tutorials, so the onus is really on you guys to come up with sort of the creative insights and stuff, and me to just kind of lead the way and make sure you're right on the fundamental economic knowledge. And that's also the best way to learn not just economics but generally. So I think the system works really well. Okay, yeah. So who wants to start with the first question? Then we'll just get kind of a rota going.
Okay, I'll
take this. Okay, thank you, Nikita. I'm just going to guess by your voice. Is that
Sure. For one, I said D because the opportunity cost is too high.
Okay, explain that. What is opportunity cost?
Opportunity cost is the cost measured in the next best alternative given up.
Okay, have both of the other two heard of this idea of opportunity cost before?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, you have.
Yeah.
Both you have. No, and yes. Okay. So yes, Nikita, please explain it to Is it Malachi that hasn't heard of it?
No, I said yes.
Oh, you both said yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So did you all get D then?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So what about why not B? Right. The external cost is greater than the external benefit. I mean, that sounds like a reason to abandon the scheme. Why not?
I answered B firstly. Yeah.
Okay.
I answered B, and then I was like, no, it's not right. But why? I have no idea. I just changed my point of view.
Okay. Yeah. So, what do you think?
I think because it's not social cost that's greater; it's external cost, which means that maybe the private benefits might be higher than the private cost. So it's a good decision.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So we have no idea about how the private benefits stack up. Social benefits could be positive, so that's not a reason to abandon a project. Yeah, fantastic, absolutely right. Which is why D is the correct answer. I think A is obviously incorrect. C, you could make an argument that due to difficulties with this kind of thing. I mean, look at HS2, right? Have you guys both heard of the high-speed rail 2 project?
No.
Okay, so a massive project in the UK at the moment, which is being considered, is this train from London all the way up to the north, places like Manchester, and it's going to be a really high-speed rail. And they proposed it, and they said, it's going to cost £15 billion. But a lot of people said, this is going to go through such a lovely countryside, and it won't really benefit. And then, so they kind of held off the project, and they did more research, and now it's looking like it's going to cost £60 billion. I think there was another report which said it's going to cost £65 billion. So for these massive sort of large infrastructural projects, it's often really hard to calculate a future cost. So that could be a reason for abandoning a project. But I think clearly D is the best answer, which is always how we have to answer these questions, because often there will be answers that seem like logical. Okay, yeah, let's go on to question 2. Yeah, what did you guys think about this?
It was pretty straightforward for me.
Okay, what did you get?
I got C, increased availability.
Okay. Why did you find it straightforward? What was your reasoning behind it being C?
So for A, it says increase in income inequality.
Okay.
That wouldn't really make sense for the difference in proportion, so I just kind of kept that aside.
Yep.
So increase in job insecurity. If people are not so sure about the job security, then they would tend to save more rather than spend.
Yep, very good.
So for D, introduction of charges for hospital treatment, that's only to a tiny extent, but it's a planned economy towards a market economy. So I can decide in between A, B, and A, C, and D. C made sense because market economy usually has a wider range of consumer goods.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. For example, if in a centrally planned economy, you might only have one manufacturer of shoes or a couple, then they're going to be very standardized. Whereas in the market economy, we're going to have a whole plethora of different ones. Yeah. What about the other two? Do you agree with it? Do you think it's C as well? I mean, it is, but
Yeah.
do you understand? Okay, cool. Yeah. So any point, just stop me if you're not sure why or whatever. Good. Okay. Production possibility curves. Yeah. Who wants to take this one? Then we've got our order, don't we?
I probably can.
Okay. What do you think?
Let's see as well. The question is like the diagram shows the production possibility curve. That's our island economy where like live of just two commodities, like two of them. It's probably on the graph we can see that it's answer C. It's quite simple for me. I've just like recognized it.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, when we're looking at A and B, they're not really anything to do with the production possibility curve, right?
Yeah.
Production and demand are always going to be separate, production and consumption. So you can rule out A and B straight away. Have all three of you seen a production possibility curve like this before?
I have.
I haven't.
You haven't?
No.
No, actually
Okay.
not when it's curved. I've only seen it when it's curved, not a straight line.
Oh, okay, interesting. Well, basically, curve or straight line doesn't make much difference. It's just about how production varies. So how these production possibility curves work is okay. I'm going to quickly. So you guys can see this online as well, hopefully.
Yep, we can.
Cool. Okay. Just work in this box here. Yeah, so if I'm just going to quickly explain as quickly as possible, it'll hopefully cement all our understanding. So obviously you can always choose between, if you're and you're choosing and you've got your little shop, and you can choose between either making something like 200 loaves of bread, or you can make bagels, and you can make 50 bagels, and you can choose between making either 200 loaves of bread or 50 bagels. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, either we can be there on it or we can be there on it. And we can produce less. We could decide to make, 100 loaves of bread. We can make 0 loaves of bread. We can decide to make 25 bagels. We can be anywhere beneath that, right? But we can't be up here because our maximum is 200 in the time we've got and the resources we have. Okay. Most likely we'll be able to, we could make some mixture of the two. So we could make, for example, 100 loaves of bread and 50 bagels over a point over here. Okay, so doing half. And if our production looks like that, then it's going to be a straight line. It's going to be like that. What does it mean if we can produce half bread and half bagels? What does that say if we can decide to make 100 bread and get 25 bagels? Because that says something quite important.
That there's no economies of scale?
Yeah, there's no economies of scale, right? What would it look like if there were economies of scale? Would it slope like this?
The other way.
Or yeah, like this. Why would it slope like that?
Because as you produce like
That's not like that. As you produce.
I actually don't know. Wait.
Have a think. Well, what about the other two? What do you guys think? And do you know what the idea of economies of scale is?
No.
Okay, economies of scale, very simple. The more you make of something, so the more loaves of bread you make, the better at making it you get. So you can make them all cheaper. So you can actually end up making more. So for example, if you have a factory making 50 iPhones, it might cost, £100 to make each iPhone. If you've got a factory making 5,000 iPhones, then you can buy special machinery and hire lots of experts. So it might actually only cost you £50 per iPhone. So the cost of production falls the more you increase your production. Understand the idea?
Yeah.
So we call this economies of scale because the more we increase the scale of our operations, the more of these economies come in, like hiring specialist managers, and you can get the newest kind of machinery and a factory built especially for what you want to build, that kind of stuff, which you can't do if you're making 5 phones. Okay. So the question is, if we have economies of scale, what would our production possibility frontier look like? Would it slope this way or that way? What do you think, Malachi?
Sorry, can you say that again?
So if we have economies of scale in the production between bread and bagels, right? So either we can make 200 bread and 0 bagels, or we can make 50 bagels and 0 bread, or we can make some mixture between the two. If we have economies of scale, that means the more we make of one thing, the cheaper it becomes. So the more that we can make much more when we decide to divert all our resources to doing that. So would the curve slope outwards like this or inwards like this?
Outwards.
Outwards like this.
Yeah.
Do you agree, Nikita?
Not really.
What do you think?
I would say.
Okay, what do you think?
I think it should be the opposite one.
What, sorry?
This one, where you hold right now, this one. Yeah.
Okay, well, why do you think so? Make an argument.
I mean, if you will, you have, how I can explain this. Because this line, this curved line, what it actually means, this line, this one.
Okay, let's have a look, right? What we see on curve A, do you see curve A like this, right? The closer we get to bread, the steeper it becomes, right? We see that? Yeah. So that means as we decide, so when we're sitting at this point over here, and we move to this point over here, we're deciding to make less bagels, right? Mm-hmm. The number of bagels we're making is going down from there to there. That's not very neat. And we're deciding to make more bread, right? That's what we're doing. Yeah?
Yeah.
All you guys happy with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, we're moving from there to there. Now if we move from there to there, right? Mm-hmm. And all the way up here is getting steeper and steeper. So we're giving up less bagels to make more bread. So as we move towards bread, the line gets steeper, so we're making even more bread. Do you see? Yeah. When we're over here and we want to make a bit more bread, we have to give up loads of bagels. Do you see that? To make that much more bread, we have to give up like all of these bagels. You see it's much longer distance than that is high.
Yeah.
So whereas over here, we have to give up not as many bagels to get quite a big increase in the number of bread. Well, it's about the same because we're over there because we see it. But like, so this means that, so yeah, Nikita's correct in the sense that it is the curve A, which show economies of scale, because the closer we get to bread, the steeper that the curve becomes. So the more that we're able to produce, right? If we had a curve which looked like that, then when we're getting to bread, we're making more and more and more and more as we move towards it. Do you see? And that reflects economies of scale. Okay, and that's just kind of something you just kind of have to memorize. And if you understand the intuition behind it a bit, then that's really helpful. What do we see in the real world though, is that if we decide that the whole economy has to either make bread or bagels, and if we let's go for a different example. Let's go for if the whole economy had to decide to make either bread or cars, right? And or some point in between. What we realistically see is that some things are better at making cars than bread. Okay, so can you give me an example of one thing that we have in the British economy which would be better at making cars than bread? What do you think?
Example in real life, you mean?
Oh, well, so yeah, like a car, like a
welding machine or something?
Oh, yeah, perfect. A welding machine, good example, okay? A welding machine is not going to be very useful to make bread, but it's going to be very useful to make cars. So if, the whole economy decides to just make bread, then all those welding machines will go to waste. And the people who've trained in making cars and have trained in, automobile design and all that kind of stuff, they're going to be useless in making bread. So when we're deciding to make more and more bread, when we're moving from this point to this point, yeah, we're diverting resources to making bread. So we're saying, okay, some of you who are making cars before, now you have to go make bread. And some people are going to be able to do that. Some people have transferable skills, maybe just a manager of the car factory, his managing skills will still be useful in making bread. But other people whose, their whole lives have specialized in putting wheels on cars, they might not be very useful at making bread. So as we divert more and more people to making bread, the curve actually flattens out and it doesn't actually make that much difference. So like we're giving up all these cars from there to there, but we're not actually making that much more bread. Do we see this? It kind of flattens out how much extra bread we're getting. It's fixed at 200. So do we understand that this idea is diseconomies of scale? So it's actually because of the factors not being equally good at making cars and bread, the curve in the real world slopes like this. Okay. Yeah. Do you get okay? So yeah, Malachi, have you heard of what a factor is? A factor of production.
Pardon?
A factor of production. Do you know what it is?
No.
Okay. Sorry, is it adage? Adage?
Adage.
Adage. Yeah, please could you explain what a factor of production is?
It's one of four. It could be either land, labor, enterprise, or
Yeah, so sorry, land. Oh my, okay, what's going on? It's just not land, labor, what else did you say, sorry?
oh, capital.
Yeah.
Enterprise.
And
enterprise.
Okay, so these are the factors of production. So these are the things that go into producing stuff. Okay. What do we mean by land? What kind of stuff does that entail?
Any natural resources like raw materials or.
Yep, very good.
Land.
What else? Or actual physical land, right? Like the land that we stand on or the factory stands on, right?
Water or anything like that.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. That's all under land. What about labor? That's quite an obvious one.
Human effort.
Human effort. Okay, what is capital, Nikita?
Capital.
Yeah.
That's your resources.
But
Manufacturing.
yeah, it's the machines that we have, right?
Yeah, like I mean, yeah, it's not.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's that welding machine. It's those, those cars, anything that we use in the production of other things. So like our physical machinery, the things we use to get there, but also things like software. That's also a form of capital. Okay. And then enterprise. What is enterprise?
The ability to take risk and manage the other three.
Yeah, exactly. It's the person at the top of the organization, the CEO, the manager, whoever, who combines the other three factors of production in order to produce something. And they take on the risk because they have to start the company and they're the entrepreneur, that kind of thing. Okay, so yeah. So some of the factors of production, we talk about it and then we say, imperfect factor mobility. Who's heard of this phrase before? None of you guys? Okay. Yeah. So when we look at this curve, we see imperfect factor mobility. Because some of the factors of production in making cars, you can't perfectly move them. They're not equally good at making bread, like a welding machine. Okay? Yeah? Do you guys understand?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So now let's have a look at our question. And yeah, that was a quick whiz tour through production possibility curve. So yeah, so here we have another one. We have coconuts and fish. And it's a straight line, okay? So we said that if we had economies of scale, it'd be sloped inwards. And if we had diseconomies, or because of factor in mobility, it would be sloped outwards, but it's a straight line. So what does that tell us about the answer? We ruled A and B out, but we're still looking at C and D. What is D? Opportunity cost of fish falls as more time is devoted to fishing. What is this idea? We've mentioned it already.
Economies of scale.
That's economies of scale, right?
Yeah.
C says that fishing and coconut growing are equally efficient. So if you decide to make more coconuts or more fish, doesn't really matter. There's no economies of scale. They're equally efficient. So it's going to be a straight line. Okay.
If you have a straight line, does that mean that the resources that you use for fish are also used for coconuts, the exact same ones?
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Which is ridiculous, right?
Okay.
I mean, this is saying perfect factor mobility between coconuts and fish, which is crazy. That's like saying, yeah, like if you're going spear fishing, whatever, you can use that for coconuts as well. Okay, but often in economics, we're going to simplify things like that. And the main idea will still stand that when we decide to make coconuts, that means we're going to have less fish. Okay. Okay. Yeah. How did you guys find this question on comparative advantage division of labor? This kind of thing. What did you guys think?
That's a really easy one.
I thought it was easy.
Yeah, all of you guys?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, demand curves. What statement describes the nature of this demand curve? What do you think, Malachi?
I think the lower the prices, the more the demand.
So B.
There will be.
Okay, so you think it's B. Let's have a look.
Yeah.
A lower price is a result of a fall in demand.
Yeah.
I would say.
Okay. Okay, so this seems like a correct answer, right? Like the lower the price, the lower the quantity demanded. The higher the quantity demanded or lower price is the result of a fall in demand. However, this is just mapping the relationship between the two. And a lower price could be the result of something else, right? What else could cause a lower price?
Resources available.
Yeah, so supply increases. So yeah, if the resources available increase, that could lower the price as well. So this, I guess, this is one of those questions where, you know, B is a reasonable answer, but it's not B, because there could be another reason for why the lower, for what's causing the lower price. And it's not really describing the nature of the demand curve, because the nature of the demand curve is just this relationship between price and quantity. So it's saying the lower the price, the higher the demand as a relationship, rather than saying a lower price is because of a fall in demand. Because do you understand the difference between the two statements? So in one, you're saying this is a descriptive kind of, okay, you know, this is the relationship between the two things. And in the second one, you're making a statement to say the price is lowered because of a fall in demand. Okay, so we have to be super careful in these, and yeah, and sort of in they love putting these kind of things in multiple choice papers, where they'll like kind of trick you into choosing the wrong option and then put the correct answer somewhere else. So what did you other guys think? What did the others think?
I said B.
B, you thought B as well, Nikita?
Oh wait, no, sorry, A. Sorry.
Okay, why do you think it was A?
Because it shows that as price changes, the quantity demanded changes. So greater or smaller T quantity is demanded as price changes.
Yeah. So this is one of those first statements. We're not saying it's because of this. We're just saying that there is this relationship between that. Quantity changes as the price changes. Yeah?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, why is it not D?
Because it's not unitary price elastic.
Okay. Did Nikita and Malachi, did you understand that?
What is price elastic?
Okay. Another quick aside. Yeah. Actually, yeah. You take this. I'll draw stuff out. You explain other shares, and I'll draw it out as what you're saying. I'll try to. What is price elasticity about?
So you've got price elasticity of demand and supply. So
Just do demand, yeah.
Demand would be the responsiveness of like the consumers to a change in price. So say for instance, you have something that's a necessity, like petrol or something, which is fundamental for cars and things. If there's a high rise in price, the fall in demand won't be so much. Whereas if it's something that's not a necessity, something like high-end clothes or something, if there's a high rise in price, then the quantity demanded will fall dramatically because it's not necessary.
Yeah.
So if it's elastic, it means that there's a high degree of responsiveness. So there's a certain percentage change in price will cause a high percentage change in demand.
Okay, so yeah, so Malachi. Now, so do you have a basic idea of what it might be? It's yeah, okay. So now let's look at these two diagrams, two demand curves. Okay, we describe the good as inelastic if it's a necessity, and the fact that the price changes doesn't really affect the demand very much because everyone's got to have it like oil. It's very, very important in the economy. Which one of these reflects an inelastic demand curve?
The second one.
The second one. So what the second one's saying is that changes in price don't really change the quantity demanded, right? Because it's a necessity. You've got to have it no matter how much it costs. Yeah, should we try that? So we've got this price to start off with. I should start using straight lines. Yeah, so you've got this price to start off with. And then you increase the price by a little bit like that. Does the quantity change by much or not?
No, not really.
Really?
That's
like we're changing the price by this little amount here. Yeah. So you see, it's actually quite a large change in quantity in the demand in quantity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas for this one here on the left, when we even if we lower the price from there to there, there's going to be it's a necessity. So we still got to have it with no matter what happens to the price, the quantity is going to be about the same all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we'll actually describe this one here on the left as inelastic, and this one here on the right as elastic. So yeah, so we gave the example of like high-end clothes or like expensive food on Elastic, where if the price rises, then suddenly people might not be able to afford it anymore, so the quantity falls hugely. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we look at our curve, and quantity changes proportion to the change in price. That's as Adeshay said, that's not the case, because having it perfectly proportional would look like this. So this is if we had an elastic a price elasticity of 1, so where any change in price is exactly equal to the percentage change in quantity. And what that would look like, it would be more like, it would look like this. Okay, where if you halve the price from there to there, then that doubles the quantity from there to there. Do you see? That's a doubling, and that's a halving of the price. And that's going to be a proportional change. So that's why it's not D, because it's clearly not curved like that. It's shaped in a straight line. Okay. What do you think? You happy with this?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Assume that Tiger Woods, famous golfer, announces that his final golf appearance will be at the next US Open tournament. Okay. What did you think, Nikita?
I don't have the, like, I used to work in a laptop, that's why I don't have my answers.
Okay.
Can I read it like really fast?
Yeah, just do the question and talk us through a reasoning.
Demand for tickets for the tournament. Probably it's probably D, I guess.
Okay, why D?
Because it was his like last golf tournament. Lots of people would like to see. I mean, like on a demand curve, if we will like, yeah, the price will be the same, maybe a bit lower, and more people would like to see this event. Yeah, that's why it will cause shift to the right.
And why is that not a movement on the demand curve? Why is it a shift and not a movement?
I mean, yeah, as I said before, if the shift, it will just will. If it's
Why is it not movement?
Yeah, because if it shifts, price is not changing, right?
Isn't it? Let's have a look. If we got our we've got a demand curve. Let's match up the demand curve here. Got a demand curve like that. I mean, if we're shifting from here to here, the price is definitely increasing, right?
That movement.
Right. So why not? Why is it not a movement upward along the demand curve from there to there?
Like if it will go up, the quantity of this tickets or whatever will be less. That's why.
Okay. And we don't know that the quantity is less, right? Doesn't say anything about it. What's the when do we have shifts and when do we have movements?
Like, wait, can you show me on this left side the shift of them?
Okay, so a shift would be shift to the right is that a whole new curve, from there to there, and a movement would be from there to there.
Yeah, I mean, if you will choose any like, I mean, because all of these things are increasing because of this, like, I don't know, situation with this guy.
Okay. Adeshay, when do we have movements and when do we have shifts in demand?
Okay, I would say movement is when there's a price change, and then shift is when there's any other factor affecting demand other than the price.
Yeah,
So
perfect.
Tiger Woods.
So in the first instance, Tiger Woods coming is not going to change the price, right? I mean, there's no reason the ticket price will suddenly rise because Tiger Woods it's his last appearance. No, the prices rise because more people want to go, and that's where the prices rise. So we call that a shift, and that's going to force up the price as well, isn't it? If we have supply like that, then we had a price there before, and now we've got a price all the way up there. Okay. So yeah, Nikita, do you understand the distinction between movements and shifts? I feel like you do understand it. It's just putting it into words.
Yeah, I understand what it like how it should be, but I can't.
Yeah, you got the right answer. Yeah. Okay. Well, now you know what the exact definition is. So basically, movement is when price changes. Shift is when any other factor which affects demands changes. Okay. Malachi, you cool? You cool on this?
Yeah.
Cool. And that's why it's D. It's going to be probably a shift to the right in the position of the demand curve. Okay, and you'd have to know something about, I know, famous call for this. Inferior goods and substitutes. Some more elasticities. Malachi, have you heard of income elasticity and cross elasticity?
Pardon?
Have you heard of income elasticity and cross elasticity of demand?
No.
Okay, let's quickly do those then. Nikita, do you want to explain income elasticity of demand? Very briefly.
Oh. Income elasticity of demand.
Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Okay.
I can't remember what it like.
Oh, I think I understand it.
What do you think? Take a guess.
If elasticity means when if the price changes, then so does the demand, right?
Yeah, that's price elasticity of demand, right? It's how demand changes when there's a change in price. What do you think income elasticity might be?
This is when the income affects the demand, maybe.
Yeah, no, exactly, right? And depending on your income elasticity of demand, when your income rises or falls, that's going to impact your spending, right?
Yeah.
So let's say, someone who is right on the brink of poverty, has just enough money to get by, suddenly has, a lot more money. What's going to happen to their spending? Probably if they're hard living enough.
Increase.
Yeah, they increase hugely because suddenly they might go out and buy new clothes. They might go out and get a new house, all that kind of stuff. So they'll have a very high income elasticity of demand. Okay.
Yeah.
Any change in the income has massive effects on demand. Whereas someone who already has a lot of money, or is loves saving, is very all about keeping their money and saving up in the bank. If they have an increase in their salary or that kind of thing, they're probably not going to save. They're probably not going to spend that much more. So demand isn't going to increase by that much. Yeah. Are you happy with this as well, Nikita?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then Adashe, can you take us through cross elasticity of demand?
I actually have not gone through that.
Okay, new concept.
Yeah.
So anybody got a guess about what cross elasticity of demand might be about?
So kind of how the price of a substitute might affect this certain good.
Yeah, exactly. So we're looking at two goods now, A and B, and it's about how the price of A could affect the demand for B. Okay. Let's write this out quickly. So now we're talking about XED, cross elasticity of demand. Okay. So the price, the price of A changes demand for B. And that's not always going to be the case, right? Some goods are going to be completely unrelated to each other. Like if the price of strawberries changes, it's unlikely to affect the demand for cars in the economy. Yeah? Okay, but some goods will have a relationship, right? So for example, strawberries and whipped cream. What might be the relationship?
They go good together.
Yeah, they go good together. So if the price of strawberries increases, what's going to happen to demand for whipped cream?
It's gonna fall.
Yeah, it's going to fall. So we describe them as complementary goods because they go well together. Okay.
Yeah.
So the formula, who knows what the formula for an elasticity is? Any ideas? Okay, so the formula for cross-sector demand is percentage change in demand for A divided by the percentage change in price for B. Okay? Yeah.
Is it the other way around? Because price of A changes demand for B, so.
Oh, I mean that's the same thing, right? Talking about the price of A changes demand for. I mean, you could say the price of B changes demand. I mean, it doesn't make any difference. We're just calling it A and B, right? When we're talking about elasticities, demand is always on top. Okay, so for example, price to demand is change in demand over percentage change in price. Okay. And then income elasticity demand, which we call YED. Guess what the formula for that is?
Oh, change in demand over change in income.
Yeah. By percentage change in income. Okay, so now let's do it. So for a complement, right, like strawberries and whipped cream, is it going to have a positive or a negative XED? What do you guys think?
What was the question?
For complementary goods like strawberries and whipped cream,
Yeah.
are they going to have a positive or a negative XED, cross elasticity of demand? So look at the formula, think about it in your head. It's quite tricky, but if you can get your head around this, then you've nailed the topic. What do you guys think? Any ideas? Okay, yeah?
Yeah,
It's going to be positive or negative? What do you think?
I would say negative.
Negative. Okay. Tell me why. Talk us through your reasoning.
If the price of strawberries increases,
Okay.
people will buy less strawberries, meaning they'll buy less whipped cream.
Okay.
So then demand would decrease.
Okay. So demand would be negative.
Yeah, so demand would be negative, and since price is actually positive because it's an increase, then you end up with a negative.
You're dividing a positive by a negative, or a negative by a positive, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Are the other two happy with that?
Yeah.
Say negative XCD. Okay. Now there's another type of good called substitutes. And that's when guess what a substitute good is?
When you can't get what you want, so you use something else to substitute in place of what you wanted.
Yeah, exactly. So can we think of two examples? Yeah, can you think of two substitutes?
Pancakes and Nutella.
Oh, really? So
you have,
if you can't,
and you usually spread the Nutella on the pancake. So Nutella is too expensive, so you then substitute it with strawberries.
oh, okay. So Nutella and strawberries
Yeah.
are substitutes. Okay, yeah. That's a great example. Let's go for like a slightly more obvious one. Let's go for how about Xbox and PlayStation? Okay.
Got none.
No, it's good as well. This is just more obvious. Okay, so if the price of an Xbox goes up, what's going to happen to demand for PlayStations?
It will increase.
Yeah. So guess what we're going to get in terms of XCD?
Positive effects.
Yeah. Because let's talk it through in the formula, right? We'll get a positive change in the price of Xboxes, so the price of Xboxes increases, leading to a positive change in demand for PlayStations. So we're going to have positive cross-substitution demand. Cool? Happy with this?
Yeah.
Okay, and basically, yeah, these are the 3 formulas you got to know. Actually, yeah, there's one more. Let's quickly smash that, and then we've done all elasticities. Briefly mentioned supply. Talk us through supply, Adashe, please.
So basically the same, but instead of demand, you'd have supply.
Okay, so yeah, what are we talking about when you're talking about processes of supply?
Pardon?
Give me an example of, make this practical.
Like an example of supply.
Change in supply and
Over change percentage change in price.
change in the
Wait, I'm confused by what you mean by an example.
Okay, so when we're talking, when you introduce prices for demand, you said things like oil and necessities. Yes. So
in terms of, like, let's say the price of wheat or something rises, you
okay,
can't grow wheat that immediately, that quick.
yeah,
Whereas if it's something like manufacturing a Coke can or something, you can increase the output very easily compared to that. So the
perfect.
elasticity, price elasticity supply for Coke would be more elastic than for wheat.
Yeah, and Nikita and Malachi, you guys happy on that as well?
Yeah.
The easier it is to increase your production when demand increases, the higher the price elasticity of supply is going to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's go back. That's like a whole topic. So you can do all that kind of thing then. Yeah. Okay. Here we get some numbers. Awesome. And then 2 more. Okay, a close substitute. That's obviously going to be 2 substitute goods, like a close substitute, whipped cream and Nutella, or whatever. Or what is an inferior good? Has anyone heard of that?
Inferior, it's worse.
Like Heinz ketchup and then unbrand brand.
Yeah, exactly. It's slightly inferior, right?
Yeah.
And if your income goes up, you're going to probably decide to buy the fancier stuff, right? You're going to go for the Heinz ketchup instead of the Tesco's Best Value ketchup, right?
Yeah.
So inferior goods are goods which have a positive or a negative income elasticity of demand. What do you think?
Negative.
Negative, right? Our income goes up and we want less of them. We want the fancier stuff. Okay. So let's do it. Let's figure out what the answer is. Okay. Yeah, talk us through the income elasticity part, please, Nikita.
like I choose B because like my logic in the like how do you call them, multiple choice tests.
Yeah.
That I've seen the word, like this word about cross elasticity. I was like, okay, most of them with the cross elasticity should be different with the first and the second one. It means it should be minus and plus, or plus and minus. And the income elasticity of demand for good X, I was thinking is like -1. That's why it should be B. That was my logic, actually.
Okay, yeah. So why is it negative
Like,
for income elasticity?
Income elasticity
Yeah.
for demand for good X. Because good X, it's an inferior good. That's why.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. And yeah, Malachi, talk us through whether you think it's B or A, the negative ones.
I think it's B because and they're both in A they're both negative, and if A is inferior, then it wouldn't make sense for them both to be negative. Understand what I mean?
Okay, so if it's inferior, right, we're just talking about income. That has no relation to substitution and cross elasticities, right? We have to separate these 2 ideas. So it's a close substitute to good Y. Then They could both be negative, but you're right, and the answer is B, but not for the reason that you thought. It's saying they're close substitutes. What does that mean in terms of their elasticity?
That the price doesn't change that much.
The price doesn't change that much? Okay, so we're not talking about price elasticity, right? We're not talking about percentage change in demand, percentage change in price. We're saying that they're substitute goods in terms of the cross elasticity of demand. So when we raise the price of one good, that increases demand for another good. So it's not about like how much that things change. It's just about whether it raises or lowers demand for the other good when we change one good's price. Okay?
Yeah.
So we see that they're close substitutes, which means that probably will have a large effect if they're close substitutes, right?
Yeah.
And what that means is they're going to have a positive cross elasticity of demand, which is what we figured out before when we said that substitute goods have a positive cross elasticity of demand. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Here we go. Here we have a unitary price elasticity of demand curve. So, yeah. Do you guys remember when I explained that this is unitary price elasticity of demand because we halve the price, the quantity doubles. So we have the exact price elasticity of equals exactly 1 throughout the whole curve. Okay. Yeah, please, Adashe, talk us through what you thought about this question.
Well, because you said it's proportional throughout, I just went immediately to C, because as the price rises, total expenditure, which that's from the consumer's point of view, even on suppliers, which I usually think of as revenue on the products, it's the same. So I went for C. That's the only one that stays the same.
Okay. Do you guys agree as well?
I don't really understand.
You really understand. Okay. Okay, yes, this is basically about revenue in terms of elasticities, right? Okay, yeah, let's go to these curves quickly. Here we on this inelastic curve, right? What is revenue equal to? In general, what is revenue equal to? What's the formula for revenue? What is revenue?
Price times the quantity of products sold.
Yeah, right. I mean, Malika, you said you were from like a business background, right?
Yeah.
Is that you have the same definition for revenue in business?
Yeah.
Yeah, price times quantity sold. So here on the inelastic, we'll start on the inelastic one first, right? What happens to revenue if we increase our price?
Sales drop.
Sales drop?
Yeah.
But not by very much, right? Because it's inelastic.
Yeah.
So we've increased our price by quite a bit, but sales haven't changed very much. They've dropped a bit. So what do we expect to happen to revenue? Increase, yeah. What about here if it was elastic? Nikita, what do you think would happen to revenue if we increased our price?
Completely opposite one to the
Yeah, because we're increasing our price by just a little bit, and our sales are dropping massively all the way from there to there. Yeah, so revenue is going to fall by a lot. Yeah, do you guys understand this?
Yeah.
Okay, it's quite a complicated idea in terms of like how a revenue would be affected by the price elasticity of demand. Like these are big, like huge economics terms, and it's all this kind of jargon. But the fact that you can like already kind of explain it using these words is so good when you're writing essays and you have to do some analysis. So here we have our unitary curve, right? We see this unitary shape. We double our price and sales fall by 50%. So the price was 100 to start off with, and we double it to 200. And you know what? Sales were like 2,000 in the beginning, and now they're only 1,000. What's happened to revenue?
decreased.
Has it? Okay, so what's revenue in the beginning?
It's increased.
Okay, so this was the point we were at in the beginning. And then we raised the price there. Okay, so, yeah, so in the beginning we're selling 1,000 units at £200. So it depends on what you call the beginning. It doesn't really matter. So in the beginning we're selling 2,000 units at £100. So we're getting, what is that, £200,000 of revenue. And when we double our price, we're selling 1,000 goods at £200. So still £200,000 of revenue. So the rule you have to remember is that revenue is constant if the PED is unitary. And by unitary, we mean this shape. We mean a price elasticity of 1. So they're directly proportional, price and demand. Okay? Yeah?
Yeah, can I ask a question?
Please.
Like, just for example, if I would like to, if I was selling 200 of something.
Yeah.
Or no, well, 1,000 of something by $200, for example.
Yep.
And I started to do it like with the point A, like 2,000 for 100. What's actually it means that I still have this 100 of. It means that I should produce more, like in terms of business, which is the best way?
Which is the best way in real life, in business? Okay, well, if you could choose, right? So we want to maximize profit in business, right? So we want to maximize profit. What is the formula for profit? Alakai, I think you got this.
Price times.
Just profit, right?
Yeah. Profit?
Yeah.
Oh, cost times price sold.
Cost times price, something like that. Is that going to be what your profit is equal to?
No.
So this idea of profits is all the money that comes in, all our revenue, right? Yeah. Then we subtract all our costs, all the money that goes out, and what's left is our profit. If we have our lemonade stand, we'll sell some lemonade. We'll have some costs, the cost of lemons, that kind of thing. And what's left is our profit. So profit is revenue minus cost. Okay? Yeah? So both in case A and B, we have the same revenue. Okay?
Yeah.
But which one's going to have higher costs?
Probably when you produce more, it will have higher costs. Yeah,
so A's gonna have much higher costs because we're producing literally double as many iPhones or cars or biscuits or whatever. So most likely we're going to want to produce at B because we have high revenue, £200,000 of revenue, and some costs, whatever cost, and the rest is going to be profit. Happy with that? Does that answer what you were trying to ask? Yeah. Okay, so now let's go back to our question. And yes, we see this unitary price elasticity, which means they're proportional. So a fall in price will bring about an increase in total expenditure on the product. Now, total expenditure, that's synonymous with revenue, right? All the expenditure, all the money that people spend on a product is the same as all the money that comes into a company, all the revenue. Yeah?
Yeah.
So is A correct?
No.
No, because revenue is constant. A fall in price will bring about an increase in sales, but a fall in total expenditure. I mean, what does that even mean? Like, that doesn't make any sense, right?
Okay.
I guess, a fall in price, increase in sales, but no, that makes some sense. But does it fit? Is it correct? Why not?
Like, because what's the? No, it's cannot shift this.
Yeah, because total expenditure is falling, right? And we've already said total expenditure is going to stay the same.
Yeah, that's
Sorry, what's the definition of expenditure?
The definition of expenditure is money spent.
Okay.
Okay, so when you go and you do your expenditure, when we're talking about economics, then this is your expenditure across a whole year. That's how much you spend in a whole year. Okay. Total expenditure will equal revenue. Everything that I spend is revenue for someone else. Happy with this?
Yeah.
They are exactly equal. Cool. So that's why it has to be C, because when you have a unitary curve like this, the total expenditure, revenue, whatever you want to call it, stays the same. Yeah?
Yes.
Cool. 9. Changing government policy. Okay, we're doing some supply stuff. Awesome. What did you think, Adeshe?
I went to A because I did this.
Why A? Why did you think so?
Pardon?
Why A?
Why A? Okay.
Yeah.
So, the extra saving to importers of the removal of a tariff on rice doesn't make sense.
Mm.
So increase in consumer surplus, no, doesn't make sense to me. Loss in government revenue, it's probably the second best option, but cost to the government of subsidy makes the most sense because it's causing a shift in supply.
Okay. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So, Nikita, tell us what is a subsidy?
Oh. I cannot say that I don't know, but I have it like in my head.
Okay. Can you give me an example of a subsidy or?
Not really. Not really.
Okay, so for example, the EU subsidizes agricultural produce. What does that mean? That means that if you're a farmer and you're producing wheat or any agricultural produce, carrots or whatever, the government will pay you to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what a subsidy is. So we're subsidizing production. Had you heard of this idea before, Malachi?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Wait, did you say yes or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And what is a tariff?
Not sure.
Where is that?
What is a tariff?
That's like the prices, how they should, this kind of price by which they should sell this.
Okay, no, it's not to do with price we should sell it. So Trump loves tariffs. He's saying for slapping on massive tariffs on something. Adeshe, do you know?
It's like duties on imports or exports, usually.
Yeah, usually imports, right? What we're saying is that any avocados that come into the US, I'm going to slap a 40% tax rate on them, and that's what a tariff is. Okay. And tariffs and subsidies, they shift the supply curve because they affect the suppliers. That's all you got to remember. That's the most important thing. Okay. So if we're looking at a subsidy, that means that we're paying producers to produce more. How is that going to shift our supply curve? What do you guys think? If we have a subsidy, how is that going to shift our supply curve?
Oh, that's gonna reduce their cost of production, allowing them to supply more at a given price point.
Okay, so the supply curve is going to shift right, isn't it? From supply 1 to supply 2. Yeah? So this makes sense with the diagram, right? We're seeing the shift from supply 1 to supply 2. And the amount of the tariff is going to be how much the curve shifts. So the height, the change, so from L to M, how much that the curve is higher, times the actual quantity. That's going to be the number of goods which are being sold, times the subsidy is going to be the total amount that the government spends on it. Do you understand this, Nikita?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Like, yeah.
Okay, so subsidy, we're saying we're going to pay you to produce something, which is good. That's going to increase supply. More people are going to enter the market. More people are going to produce this thing if the government's paying them to do it. How much is that going to cost? Well, the government says, you know what, I'll give you £5 per carrot that you produce. How much is that going to cost the government? Well, the number produced, so the quantity, that's the distance J to M, right? M's the quantity, so that's quantity, times how much the subsidy is, the distance L to M, so what it was before to M. And that total box here, that's going to be how much the government spends. That's going to be the cost of the subsidy. Okay?
Okay.
Malachi, are you comfortable on this?
Yeah.
I mean, if you've never looked at subsidies before, then that's quite complicated. Basically, sorry?
Yeah, it's a bit complicated, but in a way I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I just take it slow. So basically, the steps are: subsidy is paying producers to do something. So that will increase supply, which means supply shifts to the right. You see, that's the rightward shift of supply, S to S1. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
Mhm.
How much is that going to cost the government? And so yeah, why might you do a subsidy? For what purpose? Or what's good about doing a subsidy?
The government pay for funding.
Yeah, so like why would the government do it? What's the benefit of doing a subsidy?
It improves the business.
Okay, yeah, possibly. Adeshay, what do you think? Why would they do it?
Because then it's more available for people with a lower income. So if it's a necessity like food, it reduces the price so that everyone can buy.
Yeah, so income, on this diagram before, equilibrium, where supply equals demand, is at this point in the beginning, right? Then supply shifts outward to the right, and then the new price is down here. Do we see that? So we've moved from there to there. So the price has fallen, okay? And as Adeshay rightly says, that's going to have positive effects on people who might not be able to afford rice, okay? And how much this whole policy is going to cost is going to be, well, the quantity, so how much rice is produced, times the amount of the subsidy, the distance L to M. Okay. The price of a firm's product rises by 12%. After 1 week, the firms are able to produce the same quantity. 6%. Okay, yeah, so we have a price of supply question. Nikita, take us away. What do you think?
Here. I had a problem with this question.
Okay.
Because I was thinking that after 1 week, it's gonna be like, I mean, not 0. And I answered differently. And then, like, I don't know. That's actually the question
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Malachi, do you think you could shed some light on it with what you've learned today?
But I'm just reading the question.
Yeah, sure. And then just go back to the formulas, which we'll have a look in a second.
You can go to the formulas now.
I'll see if I can get them up. So what kind of elasticity are we talking about?
Price elasticity.
Of Price elasticity of demand or
Uh,
price elasticity of supply?
Demand.
Really?
Oh no, supply.
Because we're talking about producing quantities, right? I mean, how would the price, it even says right here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because we're talking about there's some change in the price. How does that change the firm supply? Okay, so after 1 week, we've had this product rise by 12%. So what would you expect the firm to do in terms of quantity supplied if the price rises?
To reduce on spending.
Reduce on spending. So if you're selling something, right? You're selling iPhones,
Yeah.
and suddenly the price, oh, you're selling phones in general, and suddenly the price of phones rises. Are you going to start producing more phones or less phones?
Producing less phones.
Really?
If the price rises to make phones, yes, you're gonna.
No. Oh, no. Okay. Okay. I see where the difficulty is coming in. So, the price of a firm's product rises by 12%, not of their costs, so not the raw materials.
Oh, okay.
Product. So the final product, whatever they're selling, basically rises by 12%.
Yeah.
Okay, Nikita, is that where you were getting confused as well?
Yeah, like not really, because I was like, okay, why it should be 0 after 1 week if they have if they can produce like no wait. Like, okay, now I understand why I answered differently. Probably know the answer.
Okay, Malika, what do you think?
What was what was the question?
So, okay, so after 1 week, the firm is only able to produce the same quantity, right? The price has risen of iPhones, but you can't. That doesn't mean that instantly you can start producing more iPhones, which you'd probably want to do.
Yeah.
So how do we describe this price elasticity of supply? What's happened?
So they've increased the price, and they had to wait a bit before they could get enough money to produce more.
Perfect. Yep. So after 1 week, the price elasticity of supply, now look at the formula, is it going to be infinite or 0? Because we've had a positive change in price, but what's been the change in supply after 1 week?
0 hasn't changed.
Yeah, so we've got 0 over a positive number, so the price of supply is 0. Okay.
Yeah.
And is it elastic or inelastic after 1 month? What do you think, Adishay?
After 1 month, it's going to be inelastic.
Why?
Because the price rose by 12%, whereas this quantity of supply is a lot less, so it's inelastic.
Yeah, it's only risen by 6%, right?
Yeah.
So it hasn't kept up pace. So we see 6% over 12%, which is 0.5. So that's inelastic. Okay, happy with this? D is the correct answer.
Yeah.
Nikita, you happy too?
Yeah. Now I
Cool.
understand. Yeah. Should be.
Smoking in restaurants. Okay. Okay, so remember the difference between movements and shifts, right? Demand and curve. This is tricky. Okay, what do you think, Malachi? This is quite a tricky one, isn't it? A lot to think about. So the first thing you have to realize, or they have to know basically, is that taxes, subsidies, tariffs, they all affect supply, okay?
Yeah.
So they're going to shift the supply curve, okay?
Yeah.
Looking here. Got demand and supply. How is, can you see this, what I'm doing here on the right?
Yeah.
How, if we slap a tax on on cigarettes. For example, let's say this is demand and supply for cigarettes. And okay, let's do a question first. Do we think demand for cigarettes is elastic or inelastic in terms of the price elasticity?
I've got a quick question.
Yeah, please.
How does like value-added tax or something like that, or something affect the supply? Because wouldn't it just affect demand unless they're taxing like?
Okay, so how are taxes actually levied, right? In the UK.
Oh, okay, makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you understand?
Yeah.
I'll just explain for the benefits. Sorry.
Depends on how they pass it on to the consumer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in the UK, it's not like we go up to a shop, buy some cigarettes, which cost £5, and then send another £2 to the government, right?
Yeah. Okay.
No, it's done on the supply side. So that's why it affects supply. Simple as that. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, we have demand and supply for cigarettes. And okay, first question. Anyone can answer. What do we think that demand for cigarettes is going to be more price inelastic or elastic? Which curve do you think is inelastic? Why?
Because nicotine is addictive, which is one.
It's addictive, right? So even if the price rises, people are still going to want their cigarettes. They're not going to care. They're addicted to nicotine. Yeah, happy on this?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we've got our supply and demand. And now, we say, okay, we're going to slap a tax on cigarettes. Will that increase or decrease supply?
Decrease.
Decrease. So we're going to be shifting over here. Okay. So we moved from this point to this point. Okay. Yeah, let's have a look at question 11 now. Malachi, what do you think?
I think it's B.
D, did you say?
B.
B. Okay. Why do you think it's a movement along the supply curve?
Actually, no, I don't. Because the two lines represent the shift. They don't.
Yeah, it's a shift, right? So it could be. So we just start on this side. It could be two of these. Which two could it be?
Either B or C.
A shift outwards of the demand curve. No, demand curve's fixed, right? Demand curve's just this curve.
Yeah, either B or D.
But we've just established that it's probably not going to be B because it's a shift in the supply curve, not a movement. Yeah.
Oh.
So we call this a shift from moving from this curve to this curve, and we call this a movement. Okay. It's just basically stupid terminology. You just got to learn off by heart. Okay.
Yeah.
So what we see is that it's a movement along the demand curve from this point to this point, right? It's a movement. Or a shift of the supply curve from this point, from this line to this line. Okay. Yeah. So it is either D, but it's also A. So it's either A or D. Okay.
Yeah.
And then yeah, how does it affect meals? So has decreased their sales of meals. So is that going to be a shift inwards of the demand curve, or is that going to be a movement along the supply curve?
Along.
Why do you think it's along?
Because the supply has decreased.
Okay, so if we draw this. Okay, no, so it's decreased their sales of meals, right? Is that gonna be of meals? So not anything to do with cigarettes. Is that gonna be because restaurants are all just deciding to decrease their supply of meals, or is it gonna be because nobody? Sorry.
Yeah, because customers have stopped ordering, so the supply of meals also decreases.
Yeah. So what we'll probably see is that demand will fall, right? Because people want to smoke and eat at the same time. So we're going to see a demand fall like that. Okay.
How do you describe that line then?
Sorry, say that again.
So how do you describe the line then?
Okay, so the
The
demand curve has shifted, and there's been a movement along the supply curve. So yeah, so this is correct, and this is correct as well. Yeah. So it could be either A or D, and we know from the cigarettes that it's either going to be
Those are
sorry, yeah, which means it's A. Okay. Cool, and that's the correct answer as well. Okay, perfect. Okay, wow, loads of curves here. Production cost and a fall in the price of lemonade. Okay, Nikita, talk us through this, please.
Actually, really bad with this kind of things.
It's complicated, isn't it?
For me, it's the most complicated thing ever. I don't really know something about that.
Okay, what is the definition of producer surplus?
Producer surplus.
Oh, sorry, sorry, that's the next question. Okay, we'll stay on this one. Okay, a rise in production costs, how's that going to affect supply?
Yeah.
Is that going to increase or decrease the supply if your production costs rise?
Production costs will decrease the supply.
Sorry, increase or decrease, did you say?
Decrease.
Decrease. So we're going to move from S1 to S3 or S2?
S2.
Is that an increase or a decrease in supply?
Decrease.
No. If we move to S2, it's lower, right?
Yeah.
But that actually means more supply, because if we look at okay. So
oh yeah. Sorry, yeah.
That means more supply, right? Yeah. So which one are you actually moving to?
S3.
S3, okay. And then Adeshay, talk us through what a fall in the price of lemonade would do.
Pardon?
Talk us through a fall in the price of lemonade.
Okay, so if there's a fall in the price of lemonade, then you have that cross elasticity. So basically, if there's a fall in the price of lemonade, then people are less likely to buy Coca-Cola or cola.
Okay, very good.
So since we're at S3, then D1 would shift to D3.
Okay, very good.
Inward shift of demand, so final one would be A, point A.
Final one would be point A. Malika, are you happy with this, and Nikita as well?
Yeah.
Okay, and so what's happened to the price if we were at point X and now we're at point A?
Price decreased.
Has it? So what we've seen is a rise in production costs, which would usually increase the price, right?
Oh, but do we know how much though?
Sorry, we don't know. We don't know by how much, but basically, they cancel each other out. We don't know if it's going to be exactly cancel each other out. But rise in production costs, that's going to increase the price. But then a fall in demand, less people want it, that's going to decrease the price. So what we see is we start at point X, this central point here, and we end up at point A. So if we see across axis, the price hasn't changed. Do you see?
Yep.
But the quantity of cola consumed and bought and sold has gone down from this point over here to this point over here. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so yeah, Nikita, define producer surplus.
I don't actually know.
Okay, so what about consumer surplus? Have any of you heard of consumer surplus?
No.
I think producer surplus.
What do you think it is?
When there's a surplus. Can I use the word in the definition? I don't know. When there's a surplus,
Many.
yeah, when there's too much. So the company has produced something, but then they've produced too much of it, and so maybe that might cause a decrease in price because they have too much. They just want to get rid of their stock, maybe because it's fleeing.
Okay, so that's something we call production surplus. So that's when we produce too much. But economics is obviously going to make this as complicated as possible. So producer surplus is actually going to be something different. Okay. You could call that production excess, production surplus, what you're talking about. Producer surplus is something quite different. The more producer surplus we have, the better off the producers are doing. Okay.
Okay.
Let's do consumer surplus first. So here's a normal demand curve, right? What does a demand curve mean? Like, this means some relationship between price and quantity, right? Adesha, have you heard about producer and consumer surplus?
Pardon?
Have you heard of producer and consumer surplus?
I don't know.
Okay, so what is the highest price that anyone in this market will pay? Let's say this is lots of different people in this market. What is the maximum price that anyone will pay? Where is this on the curve?
The y-axis price.
This point right here, right? That's the maximum that anyone will pay for the good.
Yeah.
If the price of the good was here, what would demand be for the good?
Zero.
Zero. Yeah, exactly right. And if the price was over here, then it's going to be some positive number. We can, go across and we can see that this would be the quantity demanded. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what we call this maximum price, where if we go any higher, there'll be zero demand, and if we go any lower, there will be positive demand. We call that the reservation price. Okay. Now, this guy, right, who wants to buy it at this super high reservation price, if the price is down here and he buys it, then he's really happy because he was willing to pay this, but he's getting it for this price. Okay. Let's say this is the price. Okay. Now, this person who's willing to pay this much for it, like over here, is also really happy because they don't have to pay this much for it. And this person wants to get it at this price is also really happy because they don't have to pay this much for it. So there's benefit. Okay. So all these people up here who are getting it, who are willing to pay, this line basically, all this, but are getting it for this low price, they're really happy. Okay. Because they would have been willing to pay more, but they're getting it for cheaper. So we call this triangle consumer surplus. Okay. What do you guys think about this?
I understand.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's a different green, doesn't matter. Okay. So yeah, if I draw my demand curve, and we call this top price the reservation price, and if I draw a supply curve as well, this will be the equilibrium price. What is the consumer surplus? Consumer surplus, the benefit that goes to consumers. Where are we going to see it on this shape?
On the left-hand side of the triangle.
Yeah, this triangle here. Okay. All these people willing to pay that much, this much, that much, whatever, this much, getting it for this price. Okay. If supply increases, so we shift supply outwards like that, what's going to happen to the size of consumer surplus?
It's going to increase.
It's going to increase because you have a new equilibrium here, which means that not only are these people even happier because they're getting it for an even lower price, but there's also a bunch of new people over here, this area over here, all these people as well, they're going to be really happy too. Okay. That's what consumer surplus is. That's what you got to remember. Consumer surplus is the difference between a consumer's reservation price, the max they'd be willing to pay for it, and the market price. Okay? Guess what producer surplus is?
C.
We know not the answer, just like what do you think it is
Like
in words?
how much they sell it for versus the lowest price that they would kind of accept.
Yeah. So, all these producers over here, that's their minimum price. They would produce this good and sell it at this price, this first one. And somebody else would be willing to sell it at this price and at this price and at this price and this price. But they're selling it for this price. So they're very happy. So this is how happy they are. Okay? This is producer surplus. Okay?
Yep.
All three of you happy on this idea?
Yep.
Okay, so let's see if we can figure out what 13 would be. So we thought it was C. Let's have a look. The lowest price that the producer would accept for the good and the price the producer actually sold it for. That fits into our definition, doesn't it?
Yeah. So D would be production surplus, right?
The quantity and the amount sold. Only if the quantity was higher than the amount sold. Okay. And what is B?
Price. Consumer.
That's consumer surplus.
That's consumer surplus right there. Okay, reservation price actually sold for. Okay. Okay, externalities. Have we all heard of externalities?
Come on.
In
Yeah.
economic sense. Okay, Nikita and Adisha have. What is an externality, Nikita?
Externality. Just a second. I can't remember.
Okay. Do you remember, Adisha?
It's basically when any economic activity gives like an effect on a third party, on a different party that was not involved in the activity.
Yeah, perfect. Give me an example, please.
Like I guess medical aid training.
Okay.
If I get trained, then let's say Nikita gets hurt, then I go and help him out. But he was never involved in the training, we never paid it or anything like that.
Okay. What do you think of this, Malachi? This idea that decisions we make have effects on other people. Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't it when it affects other people? Is it not when it affects other businesses?
Or businesses, people or businesses. Okay.
But the example.
Yeah, give me an example.
No, the example that was just given. He said, so if somebody was trained in the NHS and then Nikita was hurt, and then he could help him, but he's not part of another business.
No, he doesn't have to be part of another business. So if an externality is any effect on any other economic agent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it doesn't have to be a business. So the most common example that we talk about is, when I buy an iPhone, right?
Yeah.
The factory produces the iPhone, but when it's producing it, it also makes a lot of pollution. Okay.
Yeah.
And that pollution affects people who didn't buy iPhones. They're still affected by it. Okay. Yeah. That's a classic example of an externality. Or, and so we call that a negative externality, whereas what Adisha was talking about is a positive externality because it's like beneficial. Okay, so what about something like me getting vaccinated? Does that have positive or negative externalities?
Positive.
Yeah, positive, because that means I'm less likely to make other people sick. Okay. What about me smoking in like a train? Negative, yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, let's do 14. Nikita, what do you think?
I understand what it means.
Okay.
But yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
What do you think the answer is for question 14?
Here.
Yep.
Probably A.
Why is that?
like it affects the cost of good. Why? Like, yeah, I mean, the production of good X directly affects the costs. That's actually an externality. It's like
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
sound and smell, that's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So can we think of an example where this would be the case, where the production of good X directly affects the cost of producing Y?
Yeah. No, it's not an example. It's actually one company.
Okay. What is it?
Okay.
Can anybody think of an example?
Coca-Cola increased the amount of like their drinks twice, for example. It means
Okay.
they bought lots of sugar to produce their stuff. It means that the other producers need to buy sugar from somewhere else, and it's probably going to be more expensive.
Okay, although you could say that, you know, there's other producers are involved with the market, right? They're in that same sugar market.
Yeah.
Coca-Cola's bought more, so it's not an externality. They're in that market as well, just trying to buy their sugar. Okay, they're not really a third party. A third party might be, for example, if you know, like I'm a Coca-Cola factory and I'm taking and I'm next to a river, and you know all the waste that I'm producing when I'm making my Coca-Cola, I'm pumping into the river, and there's a fishery downstream, and you know suddenly I increase my production, so many more of the fish are dying, so that increases the cost of producing fish for the factory downstream because they're not directly involved in that same market. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, but is there is any difference between them? It's not direct externality or direct one.
Is there a difference between direct and indirect?
I understand what is the difference, but have you asked me to say indirect one?
No, I mean all externalities we would describe as directly affecting something else, I think.
Okay.
Not through some other process.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, benefits and costs. Yes, this is again on these private, external, and social is the addition of private and private and external. Okay, yeah, what did you guys get for this question?
D.
Why D? How did you figure that out?
120 plus 80 is 200, and then times that by 1,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't take into account costs. Why is that?
Because it's benefits.
Yeah, it's about.
Yeah, perfect. Cool. And you okay on this as well, Malachi?
What would you call when you take both into benefits and the costs?
Net social benefit.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
The production of what is most likely to require a government cost benefit analysis? What do you guys think?
Road.
C.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Because how you can have any benefits from the others? Because houses usually some other companies, not governmental companies. Medicine as well, and the schools you cannot have as much benefits as from roads. That's why roads is probably the right answer.
I think some people would say that the government should build houses. Like Jeremy Corbyn, much of his platform is run on, the government has to build more houses, and a lot of people live in social housing. So some people can't afford their own home, the government provides them with a home. Those are built by the government. And like schools, I mean, I'd say that there's lots of benefits to schools, right?
No, I mean, because if you'll take the other countries. In my country, for example, every road is to use, and none of these houses, I mean, from Soviet Union, probably, yeah, still we have some, but the other houses built by the other
private companies, right?
by the private companies. That's why we cannot count like something else. For the
Why?
it will be different answer. But
Yeah.
here,
Well, why else do we think it might be that?
can you repeat, please?
Why else do we think it could be roads? So yeah, you can make an argument that that's the only thing that really benefits from what the government's doing. What else? What's different between a road, a house, and a school? Or a medicine?
Because you can receive this benefits from the roads.
Okay, let's look at costs as well.
Roads, you can't really. For roads, it's not necessarily a necessity, well, as much as houses and schools and medicines, and you can't really.
Possibly, yeah.
And you have the highest chance of free riders.
Yeah, because it's really hard to charge for roads. They do in some countries, but also, I mean, the fact of like when you build a new school, you know, that's a little small area. You buy a plot of land and you set up a school, right? The costs and benefits going to be quite clear. Whereas for a road, you know, you're smashing through some countryside. Probably you're probably going to have to move people's homes, all this kind of stuff. It's a much bigger scale. So possibly you can make an argument that they're going to have to do a cost-benefit analysis because it's much harder to know what the full cost will be for everyone when you're making this road from A to B. Okay. Okay. 17. An entry fee for admission, rival and excludable qualities. Okay. Did we know what rival and excludable qualities were?
I have no clue.
Anyone, Nikita?
I was trying to translate it on Russian, but it's something different, I think. That's
okay. Yeah, let's do it quickly then. Have any of you heard of a public good then? Already? A public good.
Pardon?
A public good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
What is a public good?
Something what everybody can use.
A park.
It's
Yeah, a park. Okay. So the technical definition of a public good is something which would not be provided by the free market. Must be provided by Gov. Okay. Why is this? Let's have a think. So, public goods are non-rival and non-excludable. Okay. That's the two things you have to figure out what they are. Okay. Non-rival means that if I go, it means it doesn't run out. So the more people that use it or go, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect it. Okay. So something like a lighthouse, the more boats using a lighthouse, it really doesn't matter. The lighthouse is still there. To a certain extent, something like a park. If it's really, really packed, then it's not as much fun. But like, you know, if there's a couple other people at the park, that really doesn't affect your enjoyment. Okay?
Yeah.
Non-excludability, so non-excludable, is about whether you can physically stop people using it and charge them to use it. So something like a lighthouse is non-excludable because you can't stop people from benefiting from it. For like something like street lamps, they're pretty non-excludable, right? If you turn them on and build them and set them up, then anyone can use them. Okay? So these are the properties of public goods. Okay? They are non-rival and non-excludable. Rival? Okay, yeah, so let's just check you guys got that. Malachi, what is rivalry about?
If the good does not hold on, let's put it in words.
Yeah.
Yeah, the good does not doesn't have any effect on other businesses. So
Not about other businesses.
So like making a park, for instance.
It's not about building it, it's about using it. So you've kind of got it. So non-rival means once it's built, this park, the number of people who consume the good, who go to the park, doesn't affect like other people using it.
Yeah.
Okay. So how about Microsoft Word? That's non-rival, right? If I download Microsoft Word, it doesn't affect you. Okay, you can still download it and you can enjoy it. Something like, you know, medication. If I take that medication, then you can't have that medication. So that is rivalrous. Okay. What is non-excludable, Nikita?
It's like the S17. It's like museum is the example.
What is the example, sir?
You can.
Yeah, you can't stop people using it, right?
Yeah.
And these two things together, right? This one and this one cause. Sorry.
Could you please explain further on excludable?
I will do. Yeah. Okay. So excludable means that you can put up a wall, a paywall, and make people pay for using it. Okay. Let's say most roads, for example, if you just have a road, then you can't stop people using it. So it's non-excludable. Okay. If you you know, spend lots and lots of money reducing the amount of pollution in a big lake, so that you can go swim in it. Well, you know what? Everybody's going to start swimming there, and you can't stop other people swimming in this lake because it's non-excludable. Unless you build a massive wall all around the lake and charge entry, which is quite unrealistic. Okay, so this idea of excludability is whether you can exclude people from doing it. It's whether you can say, yeah, sure, you can use this, but you have to pay me, or you can say, you know what, you don't deserve to use it. Okay.
Okay, makes sense.
So yeah, so something like software is reasonably excludable. You can say, you know what, you have to pay to download the software, but people can also copy it and send it around to their friends. So that's where you get like encryption keys and all this kind of stuff. It's to make it more excludable, because the price of an excludable good, a non-excludable good is 0, because anyone can use it. So it's very important if you want to make money, is to choose goods and sell goods which are non-excludable. Which are excludable. So you can stop people from having it, and thus you can charge people to have it. Okay.
Okay.
And basically these two things together, if a good is non-rival and non-excludable, that leads to the free rider effect. Okay. It's a bit dark on your street, so you wanna build a street light. Okay. And I find it a bit dark as well. So I want to build a street light as well, but all 4 of us want to lighten up our street. So the 4 of us get together and say, you know what? Oh, let's all put in a bit of money and we'll build a street lamp, and then our street will be a bit lighter and it'll be a bit more pleasant, right? Okay. But the issue is a street lamp is non-rival and non-excludable. So then we can all sit together and I'll be like, you know what? I don't even need to pay for this. Like, the other 3 are going to get it anyway. And whether I pay or not doesn't make any difference, because I can benefit from the street lamp anyway. Okay? Because it's non-rival and non-excludable.
Yeah.
So this leads to this problem called the free rider effect, where people can free ride. They can just benefit and not pay for it. Okay?
Yeah.
And if enough people decide to free ride, let's say the benefit to each of us is 50 of having a light. Okay, the benefit to each of us is 50, whatever, £50 worth of benefit. If a new street light costs £120, okay, then it's probably not going to get built, because we'll all be freeloading off each other, and it might not get built. Okay, maybe in this simple situation when 3 people get together and build it. But if we're talking about thousands of people, then it's really easy to freeload, and this leads to the free rider effect. Thus, it must be provided by the government. It can't be provided by the free market, and that's why we call it a public good. Okay?
Yeah.
Let's go to the question, and let's see if we can figure it out. Cool. A national museum charges an entry fee for admission. Okay. Is it rival a national museum when there are few visitors? Yes or no?
No.
No.
No, because it doesn't really make more difference if there's more people there, right? Is it excludable?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So the answer is B. Yeah?
Yep.
But why it should be excludable?
Why is it excludable? Why should it be excludable?
Why should it be excludable?
Because you have the right of admission.
So this museum can just close the door and say, you know what, you can't come in, you can come in, you've got a ticket. That means it's excludable, right?
Yes, right of admission.
No, I mean, what's the point of this museum to be excludable? Because people don't have the ticket to this museum, or because it's like few people in there?
Oh, why would you charge entry?
No, I mean, is this museum charge any fees to enter?
Yeah.
Oh,
It says it in the first line, right?
and that's why it's excludable. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that makes it excludable, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now I just wanted to make sure that you're all cleared up on it. Okay.
Open.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do some more taxes. So remember, taxes shift supply. So if placed a tax equal to this distance, AB, so you know, supply is shifted left, supply is decreased. So supply has gone from over here to there, you know, this distance AB. And what's the burden going to be? Did anybody get the answer to this question?
For 18. I don't know if it's right. I said D.
D. Why do you think it's D?
Because the total tax burden is ZAFB, and
Perfect.
then EGFB would be passed on to the consumer, and the above one would be held by the producer. I did this because of if you had an inelastic, a more elastic one, then the top proportion is much larger than the bottom one. So they would naturally keep more and then pass less onto the consumer. I'm not sure if I'm making sense. Or if I'm even right.
He's probably off because it happened a couple of times when we had.
Or my answer was just so bad he left.
Maybe.
What it should be the future paid by producer. Maybe the other part should be paid by someone else. Consumer. You texting him? I think I should go downstairs. Yeah, because or you can
Do that, yeah.
Okay.
This is what he sees.
Okay.
Just wait until.
Yeah, there is like both of them that were sent.
He left.
No, I mean, last time he said he has some problems with the internet.
He's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's gone all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's gone.
Oh, maybe the internet went, did it?
Yeah. Because last time he said he had some problems.
Oh.
Hi,
okay.
hi. Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. My computer crashed. So.
Oh, okay, no worries.
Yeah.
All right. We've got you back. You must be almost ready to wrap up anyway, yeah?
Yeah. It's just the last couple of minutes now. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Can you see my screen? I haven't put it up.
We can't see it yet, but
Here you go.
try.
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay.
Bonza.
And then we'll get the question paper up on this side. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay. No, this is wrong. Okay, so yeah, so actually the top half would be the effect on consumers, because that's where their consumer surplus is, right? When we're looking at what consumer surplus is. So yeah, you're basically right. That would be the total tax burden, but
I swap the two.
but you have to swap the two. Yeah, exactly right. Sorry, how do you don't understand? Okay. What question was that? That was
18.
18. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. So total tax paid by everyone. Nikita, what area or Malika, what area would that be?
About the whole taxes.
Yeah. The whole. How much tax would be paid in total?
CFB.
Why is that?
It's like
Yeah. How does tax work, right? Take it back to basics.
That's the money that you pay some of your things.
Yeah. So that area, A to B, is the amount of the tax, and then the quantity is going to be X, right? So the number of units times how much tax on each unit, that's going to be the area ZAFB. Yeah? And then the top half of that is the reduction in consumer surplus, so how much tax they're paying. And the bottom half of that is going to be the reduction in producer surplus, which is how much they're paying. Okay? So yeah, so which one would it be? B. So remember, it's the bottom half, right? Because we're talking about the producer. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I can't hear you very clearly. What did you say, sorry?
Nikita's wondering why it's Bravo and not Delta.
Okay, why it's EGFB instead of ZAGE?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now we answered the question, or you asked something else. Which by producer.
I'll go into more detail. This is actually quite interesting, and then I think we'll have to finish there. Okay, so when we levy a tax on production, what happens to what shifts?
What shifts?
Yeah, what shifts? What do we see? What do we see happening when you levy a tax?
The
supply curve shifts,
yeah,
like this, right?
Left.
So what happens to price?
goes up.
Yeah, the price increases. And what happens to quantity?
Decrease.
Quantity decreases. Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's have a look at how people are affected. So we've gone from. I'm going to quickly label my. This is demand. Okay. The supply is shifted to the left. We've had a reduction in supply. That's bad for two groups. That's bad for both the producers and the consumers.
Yeah.
Okay. Because why is it bad for consumers?
They should pay more.
Yeah, they're paying more. So what's happened to their consumer surplus?
Decreased.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this box used to be their consumer surplus, right? When we were at that original point. This triangle used to be their consumer surplus. Yeah? Now their consumer surplus is only this box. Okay? Because the price is higher and less of them get it. but it's only this triangle here. Okay?
Yeah.
So do you see why consumer surplus has fallen and why this box here is how much that consumer surplus has fallen by? Yeah? Okay. What was producer surplus in the beginning? It was this box here, right?
Yeah. It was produced.
Sorry?
And now it's more.
And now it's this larger area, right?
Okay, yeah.
Wait, so yes, okay. So this is not very clear. I'm gonna get rid of the consumption line so you can see it's quite clear because this is a very important point. Our supply is shifted left. Okay, so yeah, this was the price in the beginning. This is the new price. So now let's shade in our boxes. So old consumer surplus was all of this. New consumer surplus is all of this. You see, that is the change. That is the area.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is the new triangle, right? This, bang, bang. So it hasn't increased; it's decreased. Okay.
Yeah.
And that reduction, okay, happens to be exactly equal to the total change, and then how much that affects, and then that new lower point. So how much affects the producers is this lower part, the lower part here.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's just something you've got to practice picking up from the diagrams and thinking about how consumer surplus and producer surplus work. And yeah, if you've got that, then you'll get it. So if we quickly, do you understand why it's EGBF?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's how much tax they have to pay. Okay, yeah, I think we have to stop there. Obviously, there was a lot of new content to learn. Basically, the things we've got to go away and look at the most, I'd say, are okay, yeah. So we've got so this idea of imperfect factor mobility causing our PPF to curve outwards like this, and the facts of production and how they relate. Then we've got to look at our elasticity. So that's inelastic, that is elastic, and all of our different elasticity: the cross elasticity, price elasticity, income elasticity, and supply price elasticity for supply. Think about how they affect in terms of inferior goods, in terms of normal goods, complementary goods versus substitutes. Think of how this has a unitary price elasticity of demand. And then think about consumer and production surplus. So this is producer surplus we see here. Here on top we see consumer surplus. And yeah, and then the this free rider public good stuff as well. The difference between non-rival and non-excludable, causing the free rider effect, which means that they're not provided by the free market and must be provided by the government. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry we didn't have time to go through the whole paper, but there was quite a lot of extra stuff we had to cover. As we go on and pick up new ideas, we'll go through this stuff faster. Do you have any final questions? Okay, yeah. Thank you all very much. And yeah, I hope it was helpful. Keep up reading on economics. Keep the revision. Keep up learning those terms, and you'll do well. Thank you all very much. See you.
See you. Bye. Yeah, but there's the